This conference is an official side event of the Nuclear Security Summit that starts tomorrow. At that meeting, the heads of state from 52 countries and representatives from 4 international organizations will gather to discuss the most significant issues in global nuclear security. For those of you who may be joining us for the Industry Summit for the first time, the video gave you an insight to what's happened before you. When President Obama convened the first Intergovernmental Security Summit in 2010 here in Washington, NEI hosted the first Industry Security Summit in conjunction with that meeting. The subsequent meetings among government and industry leaders were held in South Korea in 2012 and the Netherlands in 2014, as you heard. Both the government and the industry summits focus broadly on the safety and security of nuclear materials, and our objectives are aligned. The governmental summit will bring together world leaders whose principal concern is preventing the diversion of nuclear materials to weapons-related activities and safeguarding against nuclear terrorism. The Industry Summit, on the other hand, brings together hundreds of senior nuclear industry leaders from around the world to discuss the industry's global role in securing the nuclear materials and installations in its care against possible misuse. You will hear how seriously the industry takes its commitment to making sure that citizens around the world benefit from the many uses of nuclear technology and materials. You also will hear how seriously we take our responsibility to manage these materials safely and securely. Before the proceedings get underway, I'd like to thank the organizers of this summit, including Jack Edlow, president of Edlow International, who chairs the summit's International Board of Advisors, and the board itself for putting the content to this summit together. Please join me in thanking them. I want to thank NEI's Dan Lippman, who chaired the summit's organizing committee, which was responsible for bringing together all the logistics and planning. I must also thank the chairs of the 3 working groups you will hear from today: CASE Global Partners President Amir Shakarami, NAC International President and CEO Ken Cole, and Dr. John Barrett, President and CEO of the Canadian Nuclear Association. I'd also like to thank our sponsors, whose kind and generous support has made this summit possible. Diamond supporters Exelon, Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power, the Nuclear Energy Institute, and Westinghouse. Platinum sponsors Urenco, Edlow International Company, International Nuclear Services, Centrus, and China National Nuclear Corporation. Emerald sponsors Hitachi and NAC International, and gold sponsor Kazatomprom. I encourage you to spend some time tomorrow visiting their booths at the NIS 2016 exposition at the Washington Convention Center. And a big thank you to the NEI staff, whose meticulous work on the logistics has made this event possible. Like our government counterparts, the nuclear technologies industry has a responsibility for securing nuclear materials around the world. The overall security climate affects our business, and just as importantly, our collaborative efforts and well-defined processes help to foster nuclear security and our trade relationships. The industry provides technologies and services that help to improve the quality of life for people around the globe through the production of carbon-free nuclear energy. But what many people may not recognize are the other benefits nuclear technologies and materials provide, whether for radiopharmaceuticals and medical applications ranging from diagnostics to treatment, the use of nuclear materials to irradiate and keep safe everyday items such as medical instruments, food, and cosmetics. Nuclear materials used in gauges that verify the soundness of concrete structures, water desalination, and much more. These are just a few examples of the Atoms for Peace vision that President Dwight Eisenhower encouraged in the early 1950s. The initiatives that we will be discussing at this summit ensure that we will continue to fulfill that vision, and new developments in the pipeline will expand the use of nuclear technologies in ways that President Eisenhower never imagined. The ubiquitous nature of these applications and materials make it doubly urgent that we keep a watchful eye on them to ensure that their peaceful use remains so. Maintaining the security of nuclear materials is the responsibility of the entire leadership across the global nuclear industry. We are proud of our leadership in this area, as we are proud of the benefits that nuclear technology brings to the world. Fulfilling the promise of nuclear technologies in commercial applications and expanding their benefits to more people around the world depends upon an unshakable foundation of safety and security. That is essential to everything we do, and that is the reason we are gathered at this summit. These issues and the opportunities to share ideas and lessons learned are vital today and for the future. Although President Obama said 2 years ago that this year's Nuclear Security Summit will be the last one, the industry will continue to hold periodic security summits. Over the next few days, our distinguished speakers will address a wide range of topics, including decisions on final actions from the summit process since it began in 2010. You will hear reports from the chairs of 3 working groups that we established 2 years ago. Their reports will summarize 3 areas that we must manage at the highest levels if we are to maintain nuclear security in the industry. They will highlight not only the progress and accomplishments made globally in these areas, but also the steps that we must continue to take collectively. The first working group on managing the cyber threat is chaired by Case Global Partners President Amir Shakarami. This group will present its observations and recommendations on how the industry is countering the increasing threat of cyber attacks. These are of great concern to the industry globally and involve threats not only to sensitive nuclear information, but also to plant controls and processes at nuclear facilities. The industry must ensure that all regulations to protect these materials and installations are effective, and that industry is not only adhering to these requirements, but is also striving for excellence in this area. The second working group is making recommendations on securing the use, storage, and transport of radiological and strategic nuclear materials. These include highly enriched uranium, plutonium, high-activity radiological sources, and spent nuclear fuel. Among the group's recommendations are to continue to minimize the use of highly enriched uranium at research and isotope production facilities, and to make the switch, where possible, to low-enriched uranium, while ensuring that the production of critical isotopes at these facilities can continue. This group is chaired by Ken Cole, President and CEO of NAC International. The third working group, chaired by the Canadian Nuclear Association CEO John Barrett, will outline the many uses of nuclear materials and how we deal with the security of these materials. The industry as a whole will later today present its overall conclusions from this summit in a joint communique to the government leaders at the Nuclear Security Summit. This joint statement is the industry's contribution to the Nuclear Security Summit, to show the state leaders that the nuclear security policies that they have established are accepted by and will be implemented by the industry. It will be shared with all of you after lunch once it is delivered to the Sherpas supporting the Nuclear Security Summit. Our overarching message is that even if the governmental leaders will not continue their summits, the industry will continue to be vigilant on all issues related to nuclear material security. This morning, we're extremely honored to hear from the Honorable Sam Nunn, one of the world's leading experts in nuclear security. Following Senator Nunn is the Honorable Yukiya Amano, Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, a position in which he has ably served since 2009. Mr. Amano has extensive experience in disarmament and nonproliferation safeguards and diplomacy, as well as in nuclear energy issues. Next on our agenda is a panel of industry CEOs who will discuss nuclear security from the corporate viewpoint. After lunch, the 3 industry working groups will present their findings on key security issues from the summit process. We will conclude today's events with a reception 1 level up in the Grand Foyer. Looking ahead to tomorrow, the industry and non-governmental organizations will come together for a historic joint session to discuss their common interest in nuclear security. The Solutions for a Secure Nuclear Future event is co-hosted by the Fissile Materials Working Group and features 2 panels, one on nuclear security in nations with fledgling nuclear energy programs, and one on nuclear governance in a new century. I'm looking forward to those discussions, which I'm sure will be enlightening to us all. The opening speaker at the joint session is Kenneth Luongo, president of the Partnership for Global Security. The Nuclear Energy Institute and the Partnership for Global Security have launched a new joint project, the Global Nexus Initiative, or GNI. When the initiative came together for the first time last August, Ken called it a unique collaboration between two non-traditional partners. I agree, and would like to acknowledge Ken's leadership on both the GNI project and on our collaboration for the joint session you'll participate in tomorrow. The GNI project brings together international policy experts to explore the linkage among climate change, nuclear energy, and global security issues. GNI is seeking to develop creative and innovative solutions to ensure the safe and secure use of existing and new nuclear energy sources to support economic vitality and to protect our growing population and the environment. Immediately following the joint session, an awards ceremony will recognize heads of states, industries, and individuals for their exemplary work to advance the security and safety of nuclear materials and technologies over the past 6 years. And finally, the Nuclear Industry Summit Exposition will be held at the Washington Convention Center from March 31st to April 1st, where countries, companies, and NGOs will showcase their contributions to nuclear security. I encourage you to visit this exhibition, where you can learn firsthand the important actions that have been taken to maintain the security and safety of nuclear materials and installations. As we move into this year's summit, allow me to close with these thoughts. This is an important time for the nuclear industry globally. The threat posed by global climate change makes the need to reduce carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gas emissions imperative. With about 40% of carbon emissions coming from the global energy sector, the role that nuclear energy can and must play here cannot be overstated. The present world population of more than 7 billion will grow to almost 10 billion by 2050. Currently, more than 1 billion people have no electricity at all, and many more only have access to it for small portions of the day. Feeding and ensuring the availability of potable water to our growing population will be a challenge that will mean life or death for people across the globe. There are more than 100 different diagnostic and therapeutic nuclear medicine procedures available today, and some 40 million of these procedures are performed annually worldwide. With an aging and expanding global population, that number will grow significantly. These imperatives underscore the worldwide importance of nuclear energy and nuclear materials, not only for the abundant carbon-free electricity it provides to improve people's lives to help us tackle the threat of climate change, but also for the life-saving benefits it provides in the medical, agricultural, consumer, and industrial sectors. We in the nuclear industry are keenly aware that along with our duty to ensure the continued availability of these distinct technologies, we also have the lead role to play in keeping them safe and secure. Whether we're managing threats to cybersecurity or responsibly safeguarding, storing, and transporting nuclear materials, or operating our facilities in an exemplary manner for the benefits of all, our presence here today demonstrates our steadfast and continuing commitment to ensuring that safe, secure, and clean future for ourselves, our children, and our grandchildren. I wish you all a successful and informative summit. Look forward to your active participation over the next 3 days.